If you miss it at the beginning, it becomes a struggle all the way. The beginning of the presentation is so crucial. When you get it right, it becomes a breeze. If you get it wrong, then you're going to struggle all the way through to try and recapture the group. But most importantly, if you don't capture them, there'll be resistance. You'll get hecklers. You'll get people standing up in the middle. You know, sometimes you're feeling like, man, I'm rolling and rocking, and people are standing up and taking a cigarette break, an unnecessary cigarette break. So it's crucial that we get the KAV sequence and the enrolling questions. So right now we're going to practice. Do you have your 2 enrolling questions? Hello? Yes. Do you have your 2 enrolling questions? Yes. You got 30 seconds to go over them now. Let's go. 2 enrolling questions. Just go over them because we're going to ask you about them right now. 2 enrolling questions. Because for the next exercise, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing you're going to do is right up there. From the top, presenter stance, expanded awareness. Look at them like long lost. Then do your what? Your 2 enrolling questions. Then what? KV. Why is KV important? Rita? Are you sure? Okay, then that's not a good thing. I also have a question. Ladies first.
Yesterday, when I started watching speaking, it was like you can have any story about you or someone else. Then at some point it was like it shouldn't be us. So it was like the next time I presented, that was the bad time. I tried to put it out like it was someone else. It was like a bit of taking me out.
Okay, what do you mean it's not about us?
There's a time you spoke, and then it was like you don't want to hear the I.
Okay.
So I was like, I don't know if it's me who didn't get the concept, but I was like changing
Okay.
the story to someone else.
Okay. It was not about the story. The stories still remain your stories because 2 things. Number 1, nobody knows your stories, which means that when you start to tell them, you tell them with confidence. So they give you the ability to become confident very quickly on stage, uncomfortable. Okay. When I was talking about I, this is what usually happens by amateur speakers. You come on stage. Good morning. Hello, my name is Coach Phill. I am here to tell you about sports nutrition. Now, you see, I have been very successful in the last few years. And because I am so good at what I've been doing, I am here to tell you that what I'm going to tell you about I and what I have done is very, very important. Okay? Do you see what I'm doing? It's about who? Do you see what I mean? Now, guess what? People have come for a purpose, for a reason. Now you're talking about who? Do you see what I mean? That is what I meant. That when you come on stage, remember WIIFM, okay? First get people to appreciate where you are, and then you can begin to influence. Do you see what I mean? If you notice, when I started, I did not introduce myself until after break to tell you about who I am, because that is not as important as giving you a reason to be here. Does that make sense now? Yes? So your stories have got to remain your stories. Okay? Later on today, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the stories and how we make them work better. Okay? If you tell a story that is not about you, it's not as congruent, it's not as interesting. Okay? But most importantly, sometimes you go to a crowd and a little bit of anxiety. The best thing to start with is your story. It gives you ability to get comfortable. Yes. Yes.
Like you also said now, you did
Yes.
So also, is it really necessary for us to say who we are, or it depends on how we're going to begin the presentation?
Okay. It depends. That's one. But remember, this is a 4-day course. All right. So I have 4 days. Okay. But if you have a 1-hour presentation, people need to know who you are for credibility purposes. Do you see what I mean? Remember, it's a toolbox. I'm giving you a toolbox. You can decide. Okay. Now, if you're going to talk for 5, 6, 7 days, then maybe you might kind of stretch it out a little bit. But if you get on stage, sometimes your credibility will get people to listen to you. Okay? When we talk about the back end of understanding speaking, before you ever speak to any group, find out who they are. What are they about? What are their values? What is it that... Okay? Now, if you're going to speak to people who want to be school administrators, for example, they're not yet there, they're about 5 years away, it's important you tell them who you are, so that is your why they should listen. You understand? So you get on and say, hi, my name is Marianne, and I have been the school administrator for the last 20 years of that wonderful school you see there. Today, I am here to talk to you about. Do you see what I've done? The biggest reason I've given them to listen to me is because I've been an administrator for how many years? 20 years. They want to be administrators, they're going to listen. Do you see what I mean? Yes? Now, if in a different context, if I'm teaching entrepreneurs, for example, sometimes I might start. If you don't show entrepreneurs some kind of success trail, they don't want to know. Okay? So if I'm talking to business people, I'm going to go down and say, oh, by the way, did you guys know that statistics show that small businesses go out of business in 5 years? Everybody knows that statistic, yes? And they say, yes. You say, just to tell you, I have been in business for the last 18. Bam! Already I got them because they're like, so this guy has survived 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I want to listen. Do you see what I mean? So, like I said, because it's a toolbox, you decide what to use, when, where, and how. That's the difference. Never ever get up to speak and assume that people know. That's number one. But if I call you to speak, you must always, and we might do some of this tomorrow, call me and say, hey, who am I speaking to? Who are they? What are they about? What's the real situation? Do you see what I mean? So when you know, then you know how you're going to start and flow with your presentation. Does that make sense? Are we together? Yes.
Just wanted to add something. I happen to be the same group with her, so I followed her presentations. Now, the last time she presented her story as if she was talking about some other person.
Yes.
But I was just thinking, if she says, I know someone and gives that, and she says that person is speaking.
Yes. A big impact. Absolutely. Did you just hear that? Okay. Technical. Ben has the same story. You know, that's the way he crafted his story. Okay. He would start and would say, guys, I'm going to talk to you about a certain gentleman or a certain lady. And then he would tell the story of that lady. Okay. Now this guy said, I'm going to tell you about this guy. 5 years ago, was languishing somewhere, no job, nothing. Then decided that it was time to change his life. Then he decided to start looking for mentors. And then he failed so many times. This is what he learned. This is where he has reached. And ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the speech, you want a standing ovation? You say, and by the way, that guy is standing in front of you right now. See what I mean? Okay? And so you can sit and craft it that way. Does that make sense? Yeah? So it's okay. The thing is, I'd have a toolbox, depending. You can have that story. Okay? Now, I would suggest that that story is part of your 1 hour speech. I'm going to talk to you guys about later on the kind of speeches you got to have. You can say, my 1 hour signature speech is the story of somebody else. You tell a story, what is called third position. Like you're talking about somebody else. And then finally, you step into that somebody and say, in your 1 hour speech or in your 30-minute speech. Okay? Now, if you're going to train for 2-3 days, that might not, you cannot elongate it for that because it's just about one person. Sometimes you might have your own other stories about yourself. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other question? Question. Yes, Irene.
It's a rolling question.
Pardon me?
They are rolling questions.
Yes.
When I ask them,
Uh-huh.
there's some, no one is supposed to answer. Is someone supposed to answer? Like, I ask you, have you ever lost someone due to depression? I expect someone has lost someone or lost someone.
Yes.
Do I expect an answer from the audience?
Yes. Why are you asking them?